threat of quantum computing, et cetera, et cetera. So here's an analogy that I'm going to present that might be useful, or might be a useful way for us to think about this company and their position. Think of existing blockchain systems as Newtonian physics, if any of you studied physics. At some level, Newtonian physics breaks down. And then Einstein came along, gave us a new model that kind of addressed the gaps, solved some of the problems that Newtonian physics couldn't solve. So in a sense, you could think of Cscale as the Einstein company that's addressing these existing gaps. Is that important to us? Well, one concrete benefit I think everybody can understand is that cost is reduced, and reduced significantly, not by a bit, but by orders of magnitude. So there's clearly a business opportunity here. So with that conceptual idea in place, it's my pleasure to invite founder Paul Chafe to tell us more about Cscale. So Paul, over to you.
There we go. I'm just going to share my screen. Does everyone have that?
We can see it.
Right on. So thank you very much for that awesome introduction, Rob. And it's you can't go wrong being compared to Albert Einstein. So I'm Paul Chafe, and we are Cscale. We are a startup in the blockchain space here at Mars, and we're working on, as Rob very nicely introed, some technology we think you'll find very interesting. So as you know, blockchain is a really overused term, and it's a frequently misused term. So I just want to be really clear. What we're talking about here are open blockchain systems, and like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, not closed systems like Ripple and Hyperledger, or most forms of Hyperledger. These are decentralized networks that anyone can join, anyone can use, and the underlying value proposition is that they offer decentralized trust. You can trust the network without trusting anyone on the network, and that was quite revolutionary. Trust as a service is the biggest single industry on the planet. This is the stock and trade of banks and all other financial service providers. I've just put the biggest ones up there. That's over $2 trillion right there. Global market is over $10 trillion. And if you're in this meeting, you know DeFi is now a serious disruptive threat to much of that industry. You may recall in 2018, Jamie Dimon, who's CEO of JP Morgan, said, if you're stupid enough to buy Bitcoin, you'll pay the price one day. So Ethereum is over $123 billion now. Bitcoin is over $500 billion. The price is twice what it was when Jamie Dimon said that. And Bitcoin's now actually bigger than JP Morgan's market cap. These networks have regulatory approval across the G20. Wall Street now has major blockchain funds. So the potential is definitely recognized. And I'll put up what Jamie Dimon said just at the start of the month. I won't quote him directly, but if JP Morgan is now running scared of this, this is something that clearly has power. But as Rob said, you know, there are some fundamental problems with the technology. So first of all, blockchain systems are orders of magnitude slower than conventional payment rails, both in the time required to complete a transaction and the total volume of transactions that can be processed. There are only so many transactions in a block, and the network produces blocks at a fixed rate, so this means these systems don't scale. Next, blockchains are extremely expensive. The disruptive DeFi systems that are taking the world by storm right now spend $41 million a month on transaction fees on the Ethereum network. Bitcoin transactions for a single transaction spiked to over $140 this month. And because the network is volume limited, the economics mean that demand growth drives cost growth. And the take home of these two is you are never going to tap and pay for your coffee with Bitcoin. It will not happen. And both of these problems are baked into the way the proof of work protocol burns electric power to provide security. The power for one Bitcoin transaction would run your house for a week. The whole network now uses 114 terawatt hours a year. And to put that in perspective, that's more power than the entire Netherlands, right? A medium-sized industrial country, $500 million a month. And the underlying economics dictate that as the market cap goes up, the power use goes up. So this is clearly not sustainable. However, as big as these three are, the really deep problem here with current blockchains is control. Decentralized trust relies on decentralization, but right now just 4 major mining pools control Bitcoin, 2 major mining pools control Ethereum, and 65% of Bitcoin mining power is in China, which is half of it is in Sichuan province. The economies of scale drive concentration of power. This is also just basic economics. And the problem is, in this case, it destroys the decentralized trust, which is the value proposition of the whole network in the first place. All these are known problems. They've been known for a long time. And the great hope has been to replace proof of work with proof of stake technology. This solves the first 3 problems at the expense of having even greater economies of scale. So you can pay for power or you can pay for stake, but either way, the writing is on the wall for these systems. And the question that we asked ourselves is, how do we fix it? This is what we've been working on for the last 2 years. And we have, as Rob actually very succinctly captured, proof of space. So we use time and space as the fundamental physical underpinning of the network instead of electrical power. And it works like this. Nodes get paid for completing transactions, just like Bitcoin. Every node that joins the network gets an exclusive zone in virtual space, which is a network-based analog of physical space. Space around the globe, there's only so much of it. So because you get paid for it, a claim to virtual space has value. The economics are just the same as with beachfront property. Anyone can get a nice place on a beach somewhere. It's not that hard. But no one can own every beach in the world because the economics include an inherent diseconomy of scale. The more you buy, the higher you drive the price of what's left. And this is how we maintain decentralization. How we scale that, we allow the nodes that don't fit on the first chain, that don't have physical space, to go on the second chain. And whatever the transaction demand is, there is a growing economic incentive to spool up that second chain, a third chain, and so on. The next problem we had to solve is how to actually get chains to talk to each other. For this, we use something called consensus leader, and it works like this. So we can do a peer-to-peer transaction. We have Bob and Alice, they want to do a tap and pay for coffee. And so the first thing that happens is Alice requests a transaction from Bob. Bob is going to approve that transaction and tell all the nodes on chain 1, where his account exists, that this transaction is, well, first request it. The nodes are going to come back and give an authorization for that transaction. Bob is then going to tell all the nodes on chain 2, where Alice has her account, that he has the authorizations to complete this transaction. He's going to tell Alice, I'm ready to go. You can verify that I've actually sent you this. Alice is going to verify that. And that's all there is to it. It's that simple and fast. And the key thing about this is, at no points do the nodes ever have to actually talk each other to complete a transaction. That not within the chain and not between the chains. So it's both highly efficient and completely scalable. Now, there are a lot of nuances to this. I haven't even touched on smart contracts, which are a core part of our capability. There's a bunch of supporting technologies that go into making this work. So please feel free to reach out and ask. Very happy to go into as much detail as you'd like. But at a high level, this is what we have. And the complete comparison looks like this. So there's a lot of information on the slide as well. And again, a lot of nuance. But the key take home is we outcompete both the current open blockchain networks and conventional payment rails on every key metric. And the real point, key point, which Rob also mentioned in passing, is we're built with quantum resistant cryptography from the ground up. So we are future proof today. How we compare, this is the really key metrics off that slide. We have the highest bandwidth, the fastest processing, and the lowest cost across the board. Where that takes us, we're going to start with the smart contract market that is growing so fast. The rate of increase of growth is itself growing exponentially. That is 3.3 billion transactions across the Ethereum / EOS networks in 2019. It is $400 and something billion a year currently as of the last rate of growth. And we figure we can get out of that in the first year 78 million, and we can realize a profit of $6.25 million out of the gate. Who we are, just to give you my background, I've got 32 years in technology. I've done everything from silicon design up to high-level networks. I also have just about the same amount of time as a reserve force officer in the Canadian Forces. I've been a platoon company commander, operations officer, leading anything up to formations of 300. The rest of our team are extremely well qualified, except for our VP marketing, because we're still looking for that key role. Very happy to go into them in detail too, if you're interested. Our mission. So we are going to disrupt current blockchain systems in order to capture value in the global DeFi and payment industries. That's what we are here to do. That's what we are going to do. What we need are reach out today. So we've been running so far on grants. So thank you very much to the people from the government in the audience. We've had 135K in peer-reviewed grants from MyTax this year that's funded our development. We're qualified for 80% return on our shred. We have supercomputer support from the University of Toronto, and we use that to model our system, which ensures that it's mathematically correct. It's not just we think this will work, it's actually mathematically proven that it works in this way. And NRC IRAP is very eager to support us as soon as we can prove to them that we don't need money. We've had a lot of conversations, and they like our stuff a lot. What we're looking for today, strategic advisors who know blockchain, who know deep tech, and who know fintech. Expertise in DeFi and payments, marketing in DeFi and payments, and in phone payments specifically. And if any of you know anyone who's interested in this space and would like to invest, we're opening a round for $600,000 US, and we're offering to participate in our 100% employee-owned, founder-started company, which has a great future. So any introductions you give us are awesome, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much for that, Paul. Appreciate it. Why don't we just open the floor up to questions?